thing I want to talk to you about is really the importance and the fear of the unknown. I feel like 2020 brought a lot of fears and a lot of angst in all of us in terms of like what's going to happen next. And I know there's a lot of things that keep people up at night, and it weighs on our minds with regards to personal things, family related matters, professional matters, our careers. Uh, you know, are we going to earn enough money tomorrow? Those types of scary things and beyond. Just what's been going through your mind since 2020 to present day? We're almost at that. If not, we are at that 1 year mark from March of 2020. So what's been on your mind, I guess, is the best way to say it.
Yeah, man. I've definitely. I know we've had this conversation a couple of times, and it's hard to believe that it's been 12 months plus since we started this journey. And I think about what the last 12 months meant for me, and I'm in a client services business, and that's where we kind of first met. And when you're in client services, like, your clients are always afraid of the unknown, right? And that's what brings them to you from an agency perspective. And, if clients always knew what to do, right, they wouldn't always come to an agency, right? They would have the answers. And so, I always experienced like that fear of the unknown in my career. And, I've told you this several times, over our working together, right? Is that, like, when you're the agency side, you got to be the expert, you got to be the pro, you got to show up and you got to have the answers, right? And this, the last year really kind of brought out my own personal unknowns and my own personal fears. And I see it with like my friends and my colleagues, and I'm sure you do as well. Like, I just see it with my family and the fear that they have, and the anxiety that the fear of the unknown is bringing to them. Right. And so as a parent, all these unknowns are spilling over to my kids, and having to be responsible for them and their mental health and their mental illness, and like, and what's going on in their brains. Like, you know, there's just so many unknowns across the board, and try to balance that with the things that you're already trying to do day to day. Like, it gets really trying sometimes. And, you know, um, there's a lot of days, like, today's one of them, where you don't know how to handle it. Right. And
Yeah.
you don't know how you're going to make it through. Like, I'm sure you feel that way too sometimes. Right. So,
Yeah, so one of the big questions going back to like 2020 when all this happened, right? When we call it like the world paused or came to a little bit of a shutdown, especially in the East Coast. Like, we were naturally, organically working from home. So like we were always virtual, but our clients were adjusting to virtual. A lot of them had to pack up their stuff from their offices across the country and figure out a way and find a balance to work from home. So like, here's the interesting obstacle course. Now you have potentially two partners working from home. You have potentially children, one or more, homeschooling, and sharing that space and that
yeah.
community space at home all at once. And then there's the balance of focusing on your work if you can, and then helping your children with the homeschooling or taking care of things that you need to do in terms of errands. And it's just like, present day compared to 2020 as a whole, how did that balance, or how does that balance feel to you in terms of like what it was like initially, and how has it changed, if anything, present day for you?
I think I've gotten used, present day, right? Like, it's hard because, you're trying to reestablish some normalcy of business operations, or, just kind of keep some continuity going within, the day to day, and constant pressure from, my kids, at least. I don't know how it is with you guys, with your life and kind of your surroundings, but like, my kids are asking me, like, when is this going to be over? When's the pandemic going to be over? And like, that fatigue is really setting in for them. And, it makes me really concerned about their mental, well-being. And, you had touched on something though a little bit ago that didn't want to forget about, like, clients having to transition to the remote environment. Like, you and I were used to remote, right? Like,
I was
it was
doing it for
just
11 years.
you were doing it for 11 years. So it's
Yeah.
like even easier for you. I was only doing it for a few years, but, I'll never forget. I had a client who's like, they almost didn't hire us because we were remote. Right. And they were really, concerned about our ability to get things done remotely. And like, but getting the work done is getting the work done. And once they had to go to remote, they realized that it's a hard thing to do. But people could do it when it made be solving the problem a lot easier, because, you could pinpoint the problem to solve from the remote team a little bit without all the fluff of the in the office stuff, right? Or all the, the sidebar stuff that happened.
I, I think the world is naturally getting used to working from
Yeah.
home. And I think it's going to be hard to pull people back into an office because they're going to say, I was able to do this for 12 months. Like what is going to change with my efficiency and production going into an office outside of the fact of maybe creating some space? Some people might want to break from their
I definitely want to
home.
break, man. My fear right now is that I'm not going to be able to go back to an office, right? Like,
That's a reality.
Right now I'm an independent consultant. I don't have a big client base. I don't have a big staff, so will I get to go to an office again? Like, I don't know. My wife's a nurse. We don't know. My wife's a nurse, right? So she's like, always on the front lines and seeing like what's happening. So it's really, she has a very jaded, opinion of this stuff. And, if it's up to her, we're still on lockdown, right? Like she's seeing positive COVID tests every day still, especially in our most vulnerable populations. So,
and the most important thing is safety. Everyone use your own respective judgment, but it's just safety with regards to who you surround yourself with and exposure and all that. So I feel like there's going to come a time where we're going to be eventually in some type of office space or something, but it's going to be probably more strategic as to who comes in and when people come in. Similar to the option we had being virtual. We had an option of a place to go to historically if we wanted to work in an office. But to me, I looked at it as I have a great setup at home. You reduce a lot of your commute and prep time and transit into wherever you need to go to, not getting stuck in traffic, not having to worry about being on crowded trains. You get to the office. By the time you get to the office, you waste like 2 hours of a commute and setup. And I just feel I'm more efficient being able to wake up, take a shower, go through my routine, have breakfast, have some coffee or tea, and then grind and get into what I need to get into.
Do you miss that morning drive at all? Like sometimes, parts of me miss like, that mental headspace that commute gave me, right? Like that's when I would listen to podcasts or the news or just kind of jam out to some music. Do you miss that at all? Like, do you have any, me, I feel alone like all the time, but I have a household of 6 people. But like, how do you handle that? Like, do you have a fear of that loneliness at all? Like, I know I definitely do.
So for me, I have like 2 perspectives, right? So for 9 years, I worked for the sports industry for the NBA alumni, and I was commuting when I was in my 20s and early 30s from New Jersey to New York. So that time was truly you get on the New Jersey Transit and it was just, you relax. You want to listen to music. You want to look out the window. You want to clear your mind. And then even the walk to work, it's like you might stop by a bagel shop or a coffee shop and pick up some breakfast on the way to work. And then you get into work and then you check out your emails, you're munching on your breakfast. And then next thing you know, you're at lunch, 3 hours later, you're like taking lunch and walking around the city. And I do miss that. I do miss the just human interaction and being able to communicate and be able to see people that I know are physically in that city, or have the ability to have dinner with that person after work, or to be able to catch a Knicks game without having to go back into the city from New Jersey after work. But truthfully, working from home for 11 years, I've been accustomed to isolation, and I feel like it's prepared me for 2020. And
well, you definitely seem to thrive in that environment, right? Like, we've talked hundreds of times, right? And you definitely seemed like the type of person that thrives in that kind of environment, working in isolation, staying focused on tasks. And, you're a natural kind of, leader and listener and, coach to me at least. Right. So it's definitely appreciated. That comes across quite a bit. It seems like it though. Do you think we'll hit like a grass is always greener scenario here once we do open up a little bit?
There's a possibility. I want to say that we're going to be more grateful for everything we do, and we're going to do things with a purpose. I think also one of the things that has played into me being able to find that balance is, you've known this person I shared with you. I've always been more introverted. So being more introverted, you're going to enjoy your space and your bubble and just being away from folks. But don't get me wrong, I'm also the type of person that enjoys energy from people and being able to interact with people. So like, I find that balance, and missing that balance is definitely bittersweet, because this is the first year in 18 years I've taken a season off from bowling. Like I've been bowling since 2002, and it's been 18 plus years since I've taken a break.
So what has that
Like,
done for like your mental space? Like, cause like for me, like being active is a huge part of how I, stay mentally sane, right? Like it's been easy to go for me to go off the rails, just, there was a month in December, right, where like I didn't go to the gym, I didn't, get on the bike, I didn't get outside, I didn't really swim at all, and so, but and that really put me in a super funk, and I couldn't sleep, I was having all this anxiety, and then like come the end of January, February, I'm like, man, I got to get off my ass a little bit, so started going to the gym again, swimming 3 days a week. The Peloton got delivered, so I was on the Peloton doing Team Alex stuff all the time.
sweet.
If you'd love this guy, Alex, I should send you links to some of his stuff.